Hello, and a very warm welcome to this week's Scene on 7, the 1st of 1994. Can I thank you very much indeed for all your Christmas cards and a couple of nice presents too, and also be the very last person to wish you all a very happy new year. If you thought 93 was good, wait till you see what we've got in store for you in 1994. Now, if you can tear yourself away from the January sales, buying Christmas presents for later this year, here's a brief look at what's coming up in this week's programme. Behind the scenes with props at Pinewood. Heath Jones is on the M4, but not standing in the middle of the fast lane. We look behind the scenes at a day centre in Slough, lending a helping hand to the elderly. What, you may ask, does THROB stand for? Stay tuned and find out later. A man with his finger always on the pulse is Simon Brandt. For some inexplicable reason, they've let him loose in a radio studio. But what of Tony O'Rourke? What is he up to?
This week we're attracted to the Magnet Leisure Centre in Maidenhead, where things are going swimmingly. Are you? Stop splashing!
Looks like fun, doesn't it? Incidentally, may I thank all of you that I bumped into throughout the Christmas and New Year break for your compliments on the Christmas programme. We're glad you liked what we had for you. Ever eager to give you a glimpse behind the scenes at film and television, Louise Johnson has been to Pinewood Studios. She wanted to meet a man called Bryn Morgan. He's about to retire, and here's Louise's report.
We're here today at Pinewood Studios in the props department, where we're very lucky to talk with Bryn Morgan, who is what could be called a veteran of the film industry, in as much as he has worked on films such as Dentist in the Chair and Dr. No, and he also had a rather interesting experience with a full-size lion. Enter the world of props. We're very pleased to have you on the programme today. How did you get into the business?
Well, I came here in 1957, and the way I got into the business was that there was a very, very busy period at that time, and they were taking on a lot of inexperienced people. We use the word inexperienced people, and I was very lucky that my brother worked here. He put my name forward, and out of the blue, I had a letter to come to the studio, and I came, and I got the job. There was 93 prop men here.
Have you always been interested in props? Is it something you always wanted to do?
Well, it was just something that was there. I came into the department because it was an opening in the prop department, really.
Now, you're sitting in a wonderful chair. Would you like to explain just a little bit to the viewers about what the chair's been used in?
Yes, the chair was first used for the film Absolution with Miss Liv Ullman and Mr. Peter Finch. And it's the replica of the coronation, or of the throne chair of the Queen Christina. The film was made before with Miss Greta Garbo and Mr. John Barrymore.
And what are some of the favourite films that you've worked on?
The films I worked on, the first one I ever worked on was called Dentist in a Chair, which we'll pass over very quickly. And the next, the ones after that, there are a couple more. But the first, I was very privileged to work on the first Bond as a production storeman, and I did the Bonds after the production storeman 5 afterwards. The Carry On films, and, you know, a bit on Cleopatra, and quite a few other films that you can go to. The last one I ever did as a storeman before I became prop master was Second Victory, and that was the last film I ever did.
And how, just to explain, because I think the reason why we're interviewing you here is because nobody ever knows what goes on behind the scenes of the film industry, especially in props. Would you just like to explain how the prop side of the industry does work?
Well, the prop side on the floor is vastly different. This is the prop side in the stores, or then you get your production stores where the hired stuff, which is 95% of every prop, is hired in from hire houses. That is checked in. Then you get your dressing props who come with the set dresser or the art director, collect the props from the store, take it and dress the sets. And then, of course, you get your standby props who work very, very closely with the director, with the script, who stand by with the action props, like there could be anything from guns, elephants, anything the standby prop can do. And so it's a job, a very varied job.
Get bored?
Never time, I shouldn't think so, no.
So say every day is different then?
Every day is different, and you meet someone every day too.
So tell us about some of the actors and actresses that you've met.
Well, I've been very privileged, even though I've done, and I must emphasise this, backroom jobs. I was in the production stores and the prop hire stores, which is backroom jobs.
Yeah.
But I was very privileged to meet some very nice, and one of the nicest I could think was Mr. Charlton Heston, who was filming A Man for All Seasons here.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And he came, and I was watching the telly, I was watching the cricket on the telly,
Yeah.
and a voice said, "Are you Bryn?" I looked up, and of course, there stood Mr. Heston, an international star, and he wanted to go, he was doing A Man for All Seasons, I say, and he wanted to go upstairs in the props to look for a table, because the table that was brought in, the actors couldn't get their legs under. And I was rather surprised. I mean, we're talking now, as I say, of Mr. Charlton Heston. And I asked him, did he mind me watching the last 2 balls of the over, which he didn't. And we went up the stairs, and Mr. Heston went up, and he selected the table. And fortunately, and I was more than surprised. This, to me, shows the quality of the man. He get the other end of the table to lift it, and fortunately, you'll always get the little art department assistants and runners who are close behind, and I said, well, note a moment, people like you and I don't lift that, Mr. Heston. These boys will do it. And
Good for you.
I got black looks, and but anyhow, that is one of the nicest people I've met in this studio.
Now, Bryn, tell us about the lion, because I know that you had rather an interesting experience with a lovely lion.
Yes, the lion happened many, many years ago. We had a beautiful animal house here in which we used to keep not dangerous animals, but any type of thing like birds, dogs, anything that used to come in, because in those days the prop men handled quite a lot of the animals. Again, that was a prop man's job. But of course nowadays they bring things. And I am a little bit frightened of anything feathered. Birds terrify me. Now, I'd made a deal with a prop man who was frightened of picking up coffins. Now, in those days, we seemed to have a lot of films with coffins in. So the agreement was I'd handle the coffins and he'd handle the feather. And we went up to the animal house, which was in 2 parts. There was the cages where we had to put the birds back in their proper cages to go back to where they came from, the pet shop they came from. And they were tropical birds, quite a number of them. And also, off from here, we had a very big door, sliding door, which inside there you housed dogs or things like, you know, the large, but not dangerous animals.
Yeah.
And this fellow was new, and he hadn't been here long, and he said to me, you know, we put the birds in the cages, thank God he'd put the birds in the cages. And he said, what's the others, you know, what do they keep there, Bryn? So I said, well, bigger animals. I said, I don't know if there's anything in there. But it was on a click lock. You didn't have to unlock it. It locked automatically as you closed it, you see. Yeah. So I pulled the door back, and he stepped inside, and as I did, in the corner, as if a statue, was a lion.
A full-size lion?
A full-size lion. So naturally, self-preservation, I closed the door. See? Feeling of guilt, matter of seconds, I opened the door, and he staggered out with his fingernails down to there, you know. And we slammed the door again because it locked itself. And you couldn't help it. You opened the door again, and still in the corner, it hadn't moved at all. You'd have thought it was a statue, was the lion.
God.
So again, we closed the door naturally,
yes.
walked out, and as we walked out, the gentleman came up and I said, you know there's a lion in there? So he said, yes. And he took us back in there, and honestly, man, never move out this chair. It was like, you know, a big dog, a very big shaggy dog. That's what going to that lion was. And every day used to go, it was kept in its cage at times. It wasn't always kept, he just put in there while he'd done the cage out. And he apologised, of course, you know. But every day, while Cleopatra film was on, you'd go up and you could only rub it through the bars. But of course, you see, not everybody knew about how friendly that lion was, and he used to go on the set with the trainer, and he used to sit down by Cleopatra's throne, because they had all animals in those days, and he used to fall asleep, because they sleep quite a lot. And one dinner time it was, the trainer had gone off the stage, only for a matter of seconds. The old lion had woke up, strode out from East Stage, down the thing, right, and of course there's all painters sitting in the sun, and they tell me one painter actually went up the wall, because they didn't know how, I mean, we quite a few of us know how friendly, but that was one of the best things I've ever seen.
And finally, Bryn, after a fabulous 50 years in the film industry, you're retiring shortly. What do you plan to do with the future?
Well, the future just will be, the wife's got 8 full pages list of jobs. I hope that I keep healthy and can carry on, and, you know, just to do what you can, you know.
And very, very finally, Bryn, I know you're involved in Comparing in Gleeblands, and that's on Friday.
Yes, Pinewood, for the last 20 years, Pinewood have put a party on for the CTBF home at Gleeblands, Wokingham. Now there is where really you will find the people of the film industry.
Right, well, I wish you all the best, Bryn. Thanks very much. It's been fascinating to talk to you, and good luck in your retirement.
Thank you very much indeed.
What an interesting man. Thank you very much, Louise. What a career. And all of us here at WMTV and everyone in television, I'm sure, would join in wishing Bryn Morgan a very happy retirement. Another great character from Pinewood, sadly no longer working there. And the heart of the British film industry just can't keep beating if people like that keep leaving and retiring and disappearing from work. Now then, while we try and put another 5 pence in the meter and find another tape machine to play you another VT on, you're probably aware that we've kept a very close eye on the planned changes to the local environment. Particular emphasis has been paid to Heathrow Airport and the M4. Keith Jones has assigned the M4 patrol. Here's the first part.
The M4 motorway, running from South Wales in the west through to London in the east. It provides access to Heathrow Airport and the M25, as well as other strategic motorways and trunk roads. This particular stretch from junction 5 to 9 can be particularly busy, especially during morning and evening rush hour. This congestion is not just caused by people travelling to London or the airport. A major proportion is caused by local traffic, people trying to get to work in Slough, Maidenhead or Windsor, and the congestion is getting worse year by year. So what can be done to solve this problem? Well, the Department of Transport proposed a solution, and that's a £250 million project to widen the M4 to 12 lanes between Langley and Maidenhead. The Department of Transport say that this would considerably reduce traffic congestion by enabling local traffic to utilise the new proposed trunk roads. They say that the new motorway has to be built to cope with future traffic predicted needs. And they also say that the M4 is badly in need of maintenance work, and if the two projects were carried out together, then there would be very much less delay and inconvenience to road users and local residents. Well, that's what the Department of Transport has to say. But what about the alternatives? After all, the motorway is only congested for a few hours in the morning and the evening. What about better public transport, new cycle paths, better rail links? What impact would a 12-lane motorway have on the environment? Would pollution levels rise? How many people will lose their homes? If the new motorway is built, would that be the end? Or would it be deemed necessary to carry on to Reading and beyond? And finally, what about increased noise, both during and after construction? Over the coming months, I'll be finding out more, talking to MPs, local planners and local residents and environmentalists. I'll be investigating the true need for this proposed extension and seriously looking to see if there are better or cheaper alternatives.
Keith Jones doing his impersonation of a steam engine there. Now, Rosemary Muncie is the producer of this series, and she joins me in the studio now. Hi, Rosemary, how are you? Good. A bit warmer in here than it was out there.
It's pretty hot in here, yeah.
Good. Now, how did you come up with the idea for the series?
Well, I read it was going to happen, and then on looking at the material about it, I thought, well, this is vast, and it's a very, very dramatic event. So I decided it would be an excellent thing to cover.
Right, now you're personally involved in this because you're actually at the moment living in a quiet little corner of Maidenhead, relatively close to the M4. So how does it affect you personally?
Well, there's that fear. It's rather like living next to an unpredictable monster. You never know quite when it's going to strike at you. I took myself down to the library where they had a lot of volumes that the MOT had produced on this subject. And I read through them all. And they covered every aspect of it except the human aspect. They hadn't said anything about how human beings were going to be affected by this.
Now later, as Keith said during the film there, later in the series, you're going to be talking to other people who are involved, the planners and members of the public, etc. What seems to have been the general consensus of opinion thus far?
Well, the general consensus was that what a shame it is that they haven't considered any alternatives. I mean, there are many things they could have done to, say, British Rail, to alter the flow, possibly at peak times.
And reduce the fares as well.
Reduce the fares as well, exactly, yes.
Do you have any sympathy at all with the poor motorist who has to sit on 3 lanes of the M4 for hours and hours on end and uses the motorway regularly?
Great sympathy for the motorist. And it's something that shouldn't be happening. But they can't afford to go by British Rail at peak times. That's the simple thing.
Finally, Rosemary, what would you hope that this series will achieve?
Well, I hope it'll be a sort of anchor point, a focal point. And I hope that people will look at it and be made aware of just what's happening, because quite often people aren't always aware of what is going on in the environment, and perhaps contact us.
So, in other words, you'd like the viewers to write in?
Very much so, yes.
Right,
yes,
the programme's called Freeway, and the address will be coming up at the end of the programme. Thank you very much, Rosemary. Really looking forward to the rest of this series. Now, when grey hair and gravity gets the better of you and you become a senior citizen alone, it's nice to know that there's somewhere to go for a chat or even for a tea dance or just for a quiet cup of tea. Now, Anne Goodyear went along to a day centre in Slough to find out more.
Thanks, Steve. I'm Anne Goodyear, and I'm here in the centre of Slough in William Street, the day centre for the elderly in William Street. The day centre is open 5 days a week and Saturday morning, and the elderly population of Slough can come in and have a cup of tea and a chat. We're here in the day centre, and with me is Denise Jordan, the manager. Could you tell us, Denise, what happens in the day centre?
This is mainly a walking day centre where people come in after doing their shopping for a cup of tea and relax. They can come in and have their hair done. We have a hairdresser, male or female. We have afternoon tea dances about once a month.
And we rely on volunteers in the day centre. Could you tell us a little bit about the volunteers?
Yes, I have a whole group of volunteers, about 40 volunteers, who help me to run the centre and the tea bar.
I suppose I've had connections with the day centre for quite some time, because my husband used to work here. And when I gave up work, I was approached as I got spare time, would I like to come and do voluntary work? And I get a lot of pleasure out of it, because I think when we get over 60 plus, you've got to help one another.
Yes, well, I lost my husband, so I thought this was a very good idea to do voluntary work to keep me occupied.
£1.90.
What do you like about the day centre?
Like the day centre because you have a cup of tea, nice tea, sandwiches here and everything, watch a television and everything, sometimes music.
What do you like about the day centre?
Well, everything. It's central. You meet people. You meet a lot of people, a lot of friends. You make friends. And it's handy for a cup of tea at the centre for old people that can't afford to go into a restaurant.
How often do you come into the day
Twice
centre?
a week. Mondays and Fridays, generally. Sometimes we come in a week. But it's mostly Mondays and Fridays. But I'd miss it if it went. And I think a lot of other people would too.
What do you like about the day centre?
I like the day centre because it brings us elderly people out of our homes and it gives us plenty to do all day because we've got nice company in here and we can always get a nice drink, a hot tea, and we meet friends that we wouldn't meet if we stayed in our town.
And how often do you come in the day centre?
I come in here every day except Saturdays, from Monday till Friday.
Thank you very much.
I like it very, very much. And we feel very up. If we're in a flat at home, it's not the same. So we get company and happiness in here.
As you can see, everyone's having a great time in the day centre today. Now back to Steve in the studio.
Strangely enough, I'll be down there joining them very shortly. If we have many more days like this, I'll have the grey hair to go with it. Now, I'm delighted to welcome the presenter of that programme, Anne Goodyear, who's here with more details. Anne, welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you? Nice to welcome you to the studio. They look like a great bunch down there.
Yes, the day centre is very busy. The transport scheme is incredibly busy and growing all the time. It's a very lively place to be in and to work in.
Good. Now, as well as presenting the programme, you're actually directly involved with the organisation. Tell me more about that.
Yes, I am. I'm involved with Slough Council for Voluntary Service, which part of its direct service is running the day centre and the transport scheme. And I'm very much involved in all of it. As I said, the day centre is very busy. Obviously, people can come and go as they please. They can have a cup of tea.
They keep you on your toes, don't they?
They keep you on your toes. We issue bus passes, so it's very busy each day. The transport scheme, as I said, is growing very much and transports people in and out of the day centre. And we're hoping to get it to improve that all the time and get more people in and out. So
right,
it's
now,
incredibly busy.
In the film that we've just seen, the emphasis is very much on the day centre for the elderly, but that's just a small part of the volunteers' work, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, the volunteers work behind the tea bar in the day centre. The volunteers are used throughout Slough Council for Voluntary Services work. We also run the Volunteer Bureau, which helps to help people to get into voluntary work, so they want to do voluntary work can come and ask us about that. The transport scheme works with volunteers as well, particularly drivers. We have a paid driver, but also volunteer drivers. And volunteers man the office for the transport scheme, which is a very important job, taking telephone calls and logging down where people want to go.
Yeah. Now, you've got a dedicated bunch of volunteers who give their time free of charge. Do they come from all walks of life?
Yes, volunteers come from all walks of life, all ages. Anyone that wants to be a volunteer can. There's old, young, in between, people from different ethnic backgrounds.
Any special qualities do they need?
Well, patience. I think people need to have patience, they need to have tolerance, and to be friendly and outgoing, and that's all the qualifications they need.
Now, supposedly the recession's over. Not. But money's still tight. Now, how does that affect your ability to raise funds?
Well, obviously fundraising is part of what we do at the Slough Council for Voluntary Service. We obviously have grants from various bodies, but money is always welcome. Donations, particularly from anyone who wishes to give us money, we certainly accept it. So any donations are gratefully accepted. And we put to very good use.
See if I've got any folding stuff on me. Now, if someone who's watching the programme, for example, would like to become a volunteer, I understand you're particularly looking for drivers at the moment, how do they go about it?
If anyone wants to be a volunteer, they can contact me at the day centre and Goodyear on Slough 524176, or Denise Jordan or Adrian Hailer directly at the day centre.
Right, and that number will be also on our moving magazine service coming up at the end of this programme. And thanks very much. Look forward to your next report with interest.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, thanks for joining us in the studio, by the way. And for all the work you do and all the rest of the volunteers, for the elderly members of our community, thank you all very much indeed. Now, if you're wondering what to do with all the Christmas cards that are cluttering up the cupboard under the stairs or stuff them under your bed, I may have just the solution, or rather Boots the chemist may do. Recycling points are available at Boots in Maidenhead, Slough, Windsor and Uxbridge. Simply take the cards and envelopes, but no polythene or fabric bits, thank you very much, to the Boots branches I've just mentioned. Pop them in, and this will help in a very particular way. For example, in 1992, 70 million cards were recycled, and that enabled 14,000 new trees to be planted. Also, it saves the dustman from getting a slip disc. Now, for more information, if you can't get along to any of those branches, please telephone Mr. Matheson on 0753 527 267. I'll read that number again, 0753 527 767. Time now for a quick trip to the fridge, or just a nice cup of tea. I'll be back in just a few minutes. You're watching Scene on 7 from WMtv. And that's almost time for an ad break. Thank you very much.
For your holiday away from the crowds, our 9-bedroom villa has its own swimming pool, tennis court and billiards room, and is available for room or whole villa rental. Situated on the Portuguese west coast, 3 minutes from the beach, with 3 golf courses within 40 minutes drive. And of course, there's the renowned Portuguese food. For brochure or video, call Eton Travel on 0753 671747.
Ideal Home Superstore.
Whatever you're looking for to furnish your house, look no further than the
Ideal Home Superstore.
Within our giant store on the Bath Road, Sippenham, the choice just has to be seen to be believed. With interest-free credit on some items, this is the ideal place. And don't forget the South East's biggest furniture sale begins on the 27th of December. 388 to 389 Bath Road, just off Junction 7. It's the ideal
Superstore.
Welcome back. Now, what on earth possesses anyone to take part in a triathlon? I'm afraid I just do not know. But one of the best triathletes in the country is based right here in the WMtv area. I think he's mad personally, but there we are. Now, as you're fully aware, Tony O'Rourke, one of our most popular presenters, is very involved in sport, and he went out, risked getting wet and manky yet again to discover why. Here's Tony O'Rourke's report on a triathlete.
Steve, we're at Magnet Leisure Centre in Maidenhead this week to meet a local boy made good, Mark Walsh from Burnham in Buckinghamshire. Let's go inside and see him training. This is the life. I may be wet today, Steve, but I'm not cold and manky. Oh, hello, Mark. Mark Walsh, ladies and gentlemen, who's just been picked to represent the United Kingdom, Great Britain, I should say, as part of the 1994 Junior Triathlon squad. Mark, what does that involve?
Well, it involved going along to training weekends with them where they'll like give us information about races and nutrition things, and then also competing for them next year in like national events, and then hopefully getting picked for the team from the selection from the squad.
Right, did you actually set out to become a successful athlete, or was this just a bit of fun when you started?
Yeah, it was just a bit of fun when I started. So, like, my parents were doing it, some of my friends were doing it, so I sort of, like, just got into it, really.
That was when you were 12, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You're 18 now.
Yeah.
So, tell me why you didn't go for boxing or motor racing or something else. Why triathlon?
Well, I swam when I ran. So, like, I ran cross-country in the winter and swam, like, most of the year round when I was, like, fairly young, you know. And I started time trialling on the bike when I was about 11. And I've got into road racing on the bike as well, and I just enjoyed it, all 3 of them, so...
Right, you're very serious about things now. I mean, how much time does it take each week to attain and to retain this level of fitness?
Well, I do about, so like, between 2 and 3 hours a day, but sometimes more on a weekend. I'll go for a long ride on a Sunday morning, something like that.
Right, now when you are riding, riding your bike, you go for very long rides. It's not just round the block, is it? What are we talking about in miles here?
About like Sunday rides will be about 60 or 70. You know, just fairly easy.
60 or 70 miles.
Yeah.
An easy Sunday ride.
Maybe with a sort of like coffee break halfway or something like that.
Does the weather bother you?
It did used to, you know. I used to think, oh no, I'm not going out in the rain, but it's like everybody else is, so I should be as well. So, you know, it hasn't bothered me lately because Plymouth, it's rained so like non-stop for ages. So, but I went out in the rain a few days ago and I was out in the nearly sleet yesterday, so it's all right.
Right, lovely. We'll see you in the park, jogging. I said I'd meet Mark in the park, but I can't see him. Never mind, while we're waiting, here are a few of his vital statistics. He's 18 years old, he's from Burnham in Buckinghamshire. A student, he's presently studying civil engineering, brackets marine, at the University of Plymouth. He's a member of the Hillingdon Tri-Stars and also a member of the Burnham Joggers. You never said you were a member of the Burnham Joggers?
Yeah.
Oh, congratulations. When you go jogging, how far do you jog?
About 6 or 8 miles. 6
to 8 miles?
Yeah.
That's a long way. And when you're actually competing, you'll...
It's 10k, 6 miles, yeah.
Wow. And sponsorship, you're looking for sponsors at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. I've got sort of like an offer from Apex Sport of some sponsorship, but apart from that, I've got nothing else really.
Right. I believe a company called Canmore Events Management are in fact looking after your promotion for free, which is nice, and they are going to sell you in £100 pieces. They're going to split your body up into 100 pieces and sell each for £100. Is that right?
I'm sure I'm worth more than that.
Right. Okay then, and the telephone number, I've got a number here, I don't think you know what this is, but I do. It's 0628 0628 661 060. That's the telephone number for Canmore Event Management if you'd like to buy a piece of Mark Walsh. Well, Mark, thank you very much for coming along today and having a word with us on the telly, and we wish you the best of luck for your coming season and for your career. Thank you, thank you. Well, we'll hand back to Steve in the studio. Steve, what part of your body would you sell for £100?
Well, Tony, if I thought I could get £100 for all the parts of my body put together, I'd be absolutely delighted. As long as, of course, I don't marry anyone called Lorena Bobbitt. There's another joke out the window. I think we ought to actually, that's for the adults, and we definitely have to get a late-night programme put together. Now, of course, either if Tony or myself took part in a triathlon, we'd probably have a heart attack, which brings us nicely to our next item. Now, what, may I ask, does THROB stand for? The Heart Rehabilitation Organisation of Berkshire. Pauline Wallis will be here with, I've got a nice surprise for in a moment. Here's the programme.
This programme is about heart attacks, why they happen, and what can be done. Coronary heart disease is the main cause of premature death in this country. 1 in 12 men and 1 in 45 women die of coronary heart disease before the age of 65. Not all of these people die of a heart attack. Those who survive are treated in hospital or at home. We need to do more for people than care for them through this acute stage. Only 1/3 of hospitals in Great Britain offer a cardiac rehabilitation service. Many of these are run as charities. The Wrexham Park and Heatherwood Hospital's Heart Trust was set up in 1978. It provides facilities for a chest pain clinic, ECG, exercise tolerance tests and research. In 1987, a programme of rehabilitation was set up. It is run by 2 cardiac nurses who see patients in the ward and at home. They then offer information and exercise classes. This programme is mainly about their work.
There's some alarming stuff and alarming figures in there, I think you'll agree. So will you please welcome Pauline Wallis, who has got some more details for us. Hello, Pauline.
Hello.
Now, can you tell me what is your function with the rehab programme?
Yes, Leslie Richards and myself are cardiac rehabilitation nurses.
Right.
So our aim is to give advice to patients and their relatives and to get them more fit.
And that's what it does for the patients?
Yes.
Right. Now, does that make a difference to them?
Oh yes, it does. Patients and relatives can come along to the information classes and they can ask all sorts of questions that they may be unsure about, and so psychologically it's very good. Also, physically it's good because if they come to the rehab programme, they in fact find that they're fitter than they've been ever in their lives, most of them.
I actually went to Harefield Heart Hospital, met Magdi Yaqub and had a look at their programme. That's a fascinating place.
Yes, we don't have anything to do with the surgical side. We just deal mostly with people after surgery or if they've had a heart attack.
Would you deal with any of the patients from Harefield?
Oh yes, patients from there and from London hospitals, yes.
Mm. Now, when the programme was made, you were actually working for a charity at that time.
Yes.
Is this still true?
Well, I worked for Wexham Park and Heatherwood Hospital's Heart Trust. But since then, in fact, a lot of the hospital trusts are beginning to realise how beneficial the programme is for people. So as from the 1st of August, Leslie and I now work for Heatherwood and Wexham Park Hospital Trust.
Try making an anagram out of that. Now, THROB stands for?
The Heart Rehabilitation Organisation of Berkshire. Yes.
Marvellous. I'm glad we've established that. It's been puzzling us all week long. Now, how many patients do you see each year?
Well, we actually, I mean, THROB patients are members of people who've had either heart attacks or bypass surgery. But in fact, we see about 400 patients a year, approximately, in Heatherwood and Wexham Park who've had heart attacks.
Is heart attacks and heart disease generally on the increase in the country?
It certainly has been over the last, say, 20 or 30 years, I think, with the wrong diet and people eating more processed food and not taking advantage of healthy lifestyles. But in fact, over the last 4 years, since the programme has started, there has been a decrease in second heart attacks.
I must remember that. No more drinking for me then.
Well, you can drink in moderation.
Can you? A little of everything is good for you, folks. I've got a very pleasant task to perform now. As a result of all your efforts, I'm delighted to present you with this cheque, which is a community award for £250.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. And a little bonus from all of us here at WMTV, there's the programme.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Pauline. Now, I do hope you're all fit and well at home and that you didn't overindulge too much over Christmas. Should you be ill and going into hospital, that's bad enough. But imagine Simon Brandt coming to visit you. The folks at Wexham Park Hospital had just such an experience.
Hello, I've come out and about to Hospital Radio Wexham to find out a little bit more about what the hospital radio is all about. So if you've ever been unfortunate enough to be in hospital here in Slough, then now's your chance to find out a little bit more. Good afternoon. I'm from WMtv and I've come along to find out a little bit more about Hospital Radio Wexham. Wondered if you could fill me in a little bit and perhaps take me on board for a few moments. Now, you must be Dave. That's in the hot seat because I just heard you out there. Good afternoon to you. And I'm Tracy, pleased to meet you. And I know you from WMtv, so I should have known you already. Never mind. First things first, what do I need to know?
Right, well, I think the best thing to do is learn about ward rounding. Tracy's a ward rounder, and she can take you around the wards and show you what's involved with that.
Okie dokie then.
Right, should we go?
Yep, why not? I'm all for it. See you later. Tracy, we're off to Ward 4 to get some dedications for Hospital Radio Wexham. How many dedications do you tend to get when you go around?
About 12.
About 12. And are they for the next programme that's about to go out? How about your programme? How often do you sort of do your bits at Hospital Radio Wrexham?
I do it every week.
Every week? On what night of the week is that?
Wednesday night.
Wednesday. And how many hours is that?
About 2 weeks.
So it's not that much of a commitment. No.
Hello, we're from Radio Wexham. I wondered if you'd like a request today.
Yes, please, if possible.
What would you like?
You're My Best Friend by Queen, and that's for all these friends I've met on the wards and the staff.
Okay, if we haven't got that, is there anything else you might like?
I Can't Dance by Genesis.
Okay.
Very appropriate at the moment, so I can't dance.
Right, okay. And your name is?
Neil Holt.
Okay, we'll play that for you shortly.
Thank you.
So Neil, how do you find Hospital Radio?
It's very good actually, because like last night I didn't sleep a lot, so I listened to radio nearly all night, very quietly, and I found it it keeps me going.
So any one of the DJs that you particularly
no, they're all very good actually.
It's a very diplomatic answer, sir.
Yeah, it is. God, don't get myself in trouble then.
Leslie, what request can I do for you this afternoon?
Right said Fred.
Right
I'm
said
too
Fred.
sexy.
And you, madam, what can I get for you?
I'd like a batter out of hell, please.
You'd like a batter out of hell?
I am a batter out of hell.
Batter out of hell.
Yes, please.
Certainly. So Tracy, how on earth do we find all these records? I mean, presumably you have a record library.
Yeah, it's just in here.
Oh, right. Is it quite straightforward?
It is. You just look under the band name and find the song that you want, and it will have a number.
How many records are there in this library?
Between 5,000 and 6,000, I think.
Ah, so it's not bad then. No. I mean, presumably there's CDs as well.
Yes, there are. About 60.
60?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, do record companies actually send in records, or...?
No, we don't tend to get anything from the companies. So.
Come on then, let's hurry up and find That's Out of Hell and Queen, Best Friend, and I Can't Dance by Genesis.
Queen will be in there.
Oh, here it is. Queen, You're My Best Friend, number 247. 47 and I've lost her. Okay, 247. There we go. It says scratched, sticks at the beginning. Guess we'll take that on board. Well, this one that's scratched does actually work. Ooh. Sorry, I thought you were on over there, sir. We've got the records. Excellent. A few requests. Ward 4, Leslie, Jane, and Neil.
What sort of records we got then?
I mentioned this. We have Right Said Fred, I'm Too Sexy. I Can't Dance, Genesis, rather appropriate for Neil, as he's just been in having one operation on his leg. And Queen, You're My Best Friend. So how did you first get involved in hospital radio?
I simply wrote a letter to the station just asking, you know, how I could get in touch with them, you know, what would be involved, and they invited me along for an interview, and been involved ever since.
And how long was that?
About 5 years now.
What sort of commitment do you have to put in?
You do your show, you have a regular slot, which is weekly, and I do a Saturday night show, and you also have to help out with the road shows and things. We have high street road shows, things. You're asked to turn up to them, sort of 3 or 4 of those a year, as part of your commitment to the station as well. Right then, Dave, I'm a complete amateur. Can you show me the ropes? You can tell that. I think about the only thing I recognise are the cans. So where do we go from here? Well, they're probably the simplest part of the equipment that you've got. You have in front of you a basic radio control deck. It looks fairly complicated at first glance, but really once you get used to it, it's very, very simple and easy to use. Have to be, really. I knew you'd say that. Yes. We have 2 CD players that we feed off, 2 record decks and 2 tape decks for jingles. What you can generally do is record a dummy show in the spare studio. Right. You can give that to the station manager or the station chairman. They'll listen to it, and as long as it's up to a certain standard, they'll let you go on air. But that's normally sort of a month to 2 months. Give you a good spell of ward rounding. It's building up confidence, I suppose, as well. Confidence is the vital thing. If you go on air without confidence, then it will come across, and that doesn't work. So, it's time for me to cue my record. So, how do I go about it? I guess I have to sit down to do this, because it's let you take over, get in the hot seat, yes.
You're not going to run away, are you? Because you are on air at the moment.
That's what I was worried about.
Do this to me. Blimey, I've just broken the chair, folks. If you press Q, so that will start spinning, hopefully. No, what that does is it shuts off what the transmission is going out, and it leaves you to whichever channel so you press Q on, you can listen to it. And you simply start it playing from there to spinning, press the remote, and then put the needle on there as you would a normal record. The needle on the record. And then you leave it until you hear the music coming in, and as soon as you hear that, you'll hit the button to stop it spinning. So how do I spin it back as it started? It's got about a second of disco. Simply move it round with your finger until... Am I going the right way? I could be here. You play the record slowly forwards until you hear it stop. Oh, I'm scratching on WMtv here. And then, once you've found it, just turn it round, 1/4 of a turn to 1/2 a turn of a disc. That's it. To give you a bit of lead in. Because obviously it takes time for the turntable to speed up. And then you would just bring your fader up to a certain level. Yeah. And then you phase the other one down, do you?
Yeah, as soon as you're ready, return it to output and you're in control.
So I just press remote and say that was for Leslie, Ward 4.
Yeah, you'll hear yourself come on.
That was for Leslie on Ward 4. I'm Simon Brandt from WMtv. I've taken over just for a few moments. Now up, it's Fleetwood Mac and Albatross. So how did I do, folks? We're still on remote. Does that matter? I faded it down and it's still on remote. Oh, I didn't make a mistake. Dave, thank you very much indeed. I think I'll stick to television.
Probably best.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you for Tracy as well, wherever you may be, and best of luck for the future, as they say.
Thank you.
In TV and radio land. Anyway, I think the next record's up, so I better leave you to it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you as always, Simon, and so on and so forth. And from an ex-hospital radio presenter myself, I used to do it, used to love doing it too. Great fun, did it for 5 years. Special mention to all the folks at Wexham Hospital Radio who volunteer their time and energy. Keep it up, keep going. Now, that's about it for this week, with one exception. There is a deliberate mistake in that film, in Simon's film, and if you spotted it, we'll award you some sort of prize or another. Probably a night out with Simon, if you can bear it. But would you please write to us? And if you'd like to write to us about any other items in the programme, then we look forward very much to hearing from you. The address will be coming up at the end of the programme also is Scene on 7, WMtv, P.O. Box 7, Berkshire, SL3 6ET. That's Scene on 7, WMtv, P.O. Box 7, Slough, SL3 6ET. So that's the deliberate mistake in Simon's piece. Don't forget, if you spot the deliberate mistake, I'll give you a clue. If you want to record it, it's in the first minute of the programme. Please write to us with Night Out with Simon competition, Scene on 7, WMtv, P.O. Box 7, Berkshire, SL3 6ET. That's about your lot for this week. Look forward to seeing you next week on Scene on 7. Take care for now. Bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed the programme. This is Scene on 7 from WMtv. Bye-bye.